We love
SHAMAR Dante Barnett went to a party. He's 25 years of age with white people, an all-white party. A white co-worker of his invited him. SHAMAR goes to the party. He's the only black person there. SHAMAR went to the morgue.
That was 25, that sadly passed away this year on June 29th. He was a loving, caring, and supportive brother.
Oh no, there's something so off with this case, and it has no media attention.
TikTok, scrolling like scrollers do, and I ran across a grieving mother's post. Post said something about having lost her son having been invited to, he was 25, he had just turned 25, but he had been invited to a party, and she defined it or described it as an all-white party. Not like we would say an all-white party, like everybody wearing white. No. She meant he is the only person of color at the party.
So did he really drown?
I don't think so. Like we need actual real answers from, like I said, all levels. Besides the party, the police and the hospital have the answers.
We love
right
hip-hop.
now, we did a story, for our audience, maybe about 2-3 days ago that started getting a lot of traction. And the thing is that really got us when we were doing the episode is the lack of media coverage that happened with the passing the mysterious passing of a young man named SHAMAR Barnett. Okay, now just to set it up, the young gentleman went to a party in Mississauga with a friend from work, and he did not return from the party. There was reports that said that he drowned. There was a lot of different stories around the drowning and a lot of speculation. And we did an episode of the We Love Hip Hop podcast where we were extremely infuriated about the lack of coverage on this. So now I have an opportunity here to speak with the mother of this young gentleman. I want to introduce Cheryl to the audience today. Thanks for having this conversation with me, Cheryl.
Thanks for having me. So I would just like to clarify some things.
Yes, please.
It was June 29th. I was at my home in the city of Brampton. It was somewhere after 11 p.m. A loud knock was on my door. My family member opened the door.
Mm-hmm.
And police was at the door, and they were asking to speak to Cheryl. I was upstairs in my room because I just came back from emergency. Before I get to the whole police, let me just walk you back. June 29th was a very unusual day for me. I woke up about 7:04 a.m. in the morning, and I was having very excruciating pain in my stomach area.
Right.
So I took 2 painkillers, and I went back to sleep in the hopes that I would sleep the pain off. So I went to sleep, and I woke up back at 11:04 a.m. When I got up at 11:04 a.m., the pain got worse, and I started to vomit a lot, and I was really ill. I felt like my breath was leaving my body, and I felt like I couldn't breathe and I was just going to die. So I reached out to my sister, and I called her, Sonia, and I said to her, come and take me to emergency. I feel like the breath is leaving my body. I feel like I'm dying. And then I called my daughter, Shamoya. She was at her dad's home, and I said to her, come now, I need to go to hospital. I feel like I'm dying. So my sister and my daughter, they came, they got me ready. They took me to Emerge. When I got to Emerge, I couldn't walk. They were pushing me in the wheelchair, and I was really ill that day. So they were pushing me in the wheelchair, and I did pretty much all the tests in the hospital. The result came back, and they said I was fine. They couldn't understand why I was sick to that extent, but nothing showed medically that anything was wrong with me. So I left the hospital, and I arrived home on June 29th, probably about 9:40, somewhere there. So I came home at 9:40. So when I came home, that was when I went upstairs, and about sometimes after 11 p.m. that night, police showed up, and they were asking for me. I was upstairs because, like I said, I just got back from the hospital. So when I was told that police is asking for me, I told my family member to go back downstairs and find out from the police if they're really asking for me, because I knew that I had no business with the police, especially at that time of the night. So I heard when the police said, yes, I am asking for Cheryl. So I came downstairs and the police was still standing at my door. So he looked at me and he said to me, are you Cheryl? I said, yes, I am. And he said to me, are you Shamar's mom? And I said, yes, I am. When the police said that to me, my heart just stopped beating for a second. And I sat down. I had like a little seat at my front entrance in my home. And I sat at the seat. And he said to me, I would prefer for you to have a more comfortable seat. So I came in my family room and I sat down in my family room. And the police said to me, your son was at a birthday party in Mississauga. We were told that your son jumped into the pool. And unfortunately, he did not make it. When he said that to me, I froze. I just completely froze for a second.
Yeah.
And then I said to him, I said, that can't be Shamar, because I knew that Shamar could not swim, and Shamar was very cognitive of the fact that he was not a swimmer. So I said to him, Shamar couldn't have jumped in the pool. I think you have the wrong person. And he said to me, he called me by my last name and he said, Miss Blank, if it was not your son, I would not be here. I said, there has to be a mix up, but it can't be my son because Shamar could not have jumped into the pool. That's not him. Anyhow, I alerted my family members and we all proceeded to go to Credit Valley Hospital. When we got there and they took us to the room that Shamar was lying lifelessly on the bed. Detective from CIB unit in Mississauga, he came and he said to us that your son was at a birthday party with some work colleagues. And this is the situation. We were told that your son brought a bottle of overproof white rum to the party. And we were also told that your son had 3 shots or so of the overproof white rum. In the state of my grieving, I didn't expect to hear that, but I accepted for what it was because I knew that Shamar was a very social, modest drinker.
Okay.
And it's not like him to have 3 shots of a white rum, but I just didn't say anything because I was grieving. And the police pretty much just gave us a simple explanation. He was at a party with some work colleagues and he jumped into the pool and he didn't make it. We did not get any other information really from the police. We grieved as a family that night at Credit Valley. The night of that incident, I remember my daughters tracked down the gentleman by the name of Farrell because he was the one that initially invited Shamar to the birthday party.
He's the work
tracked
friend.
him down. Pardon?
He's the work friend.
Well, to be honest, all the people at the work party, Shamar was acquainted with them.
Okay.
Because last December, they were working on a movie set. So he met pretty much all of them. So he's acquainted with everybody at the party.
And just to give some clarification, the kind of work that he was working working behind the scenes in production of TV and movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he met them there. So he's pretty much acquainted with all of them. That was pretty much at the party. So, like I said, my daughters tracked him down and they sent their numbers for him to call. And he called them back. But it was like about early Sunday morning when he called my daughters. Because we pretty much, we stayed at the hospital for several hours. We got there on the 29th, and we were there until Sunday morning, pretty much, right? So my daughters tracked him down and sent their numbers, and he called them because we were trying to get some answers. Because, like I said, we didn't get any much information from the police, right? So pretty much he told my daughters the situation was Ian Shamar was at the backyard of the house, and that Shamar had cannonball into the pool, right? We knew that Shamar was not a swimmer, so for him to cannonball into the pool, it didn't make any sense to us, right? We knew that if Shamar was going to go to a party, and if he's going to go into the water, he wouldn't have jumped in the water. He would have walked into the water, and he would have been very mindful of the water because he knew that he could not swim, and everybody that knew him knew that because he wasn't shy to tell people that, you know, he doesn't play with water like that, right? So they told us pretty much, Farrell told my daughters, because the phone was on speaker, pretty much that he and Shamar was pretty much at the backyard, and that's the situation. And he said Shamar cannonball into the water, and Shamar didn't show any signs of drowning, or he didn't show any signs of any trauma or anything. And he said from the time that Shamar got into the water to the time that he pulled Shamar out was no more than 90 seconds, right? So that was what he told us while we were at the hospital. The conversation ended, and the day after, I asked someone to call him. So the person called him and said to him, they were having a conversation, and the person said, "Come on, dude, you're trying to tell me that this is a pool party and it's just you and Shamar, the only two people at the backyard. Come on, dude, you know that's cap, you know? I don't believe that." So when the person said that to him, he started to tell the person that, oh, well, other persons were at the backyard. Some persons were being pushed into the pool. Some persons were running because they didn't want to be pushed into the pool, but Shamar cannonball into the pool, right?
So he willingly jumped in the pool, but everybody else was trying to get away from being pushed into the pool.
Yes. So he said so he said so he said Shamar willfully jumped into the pool. People were running because they didn't want to be pushed. Some people were pushed into the pool, right? And the conversation with the person that called him, he said Shamar had brought the Jamaican overproof white rum, which is a very strong white rum. And he said Shamar had 3 shots of the white rum, and Shamar also had another strong glass of wine. Anyhow, pretty much the story didn't make a lot of sense to us, but we accepted for what it was. The toxicology report came back, and the coroner called me first to read the report. And he said to me that there was no trace of alcohol that was found in Shamar's urine. No trace of alcohol was found in his blood. So it simply means that the story that was given could not be true because science don't lie. So at that time, I called the 11 Division, the CIB unit in Mississauga, and I spoke to the detective that is supposed to be on the case. I said to him, when I was at the hospital, you greeted my family and I with the information that Shamar had brought a bottle of overproof white rum and that he had several shots. Now that the toxicology report is back and it's saying differently from what you told us, it simply means that the statement that you were given by the attendees at the party is not correct. I said to him, you can't have a statement and then you subtract certain parts from that statement and then you use certain parts from the same statement. It's either the statement is entirely true or it's entirely false. At that time, the detective on the case said to me, well, just so you know, alcohol doesn't always have to show up in your urine and it doesn't always have to show up in your blood. I said to him, let me ask you a question. Are you a medical doctor are you a detective? What's your profession? He said to me, I am a detective. However, we were trained when it comes to those things. So I said to him, I am going to stop you right there. You gave us the impression that alcohol played a role of Shamar's death, and you made it seem like based on the alcohol that he was not cognitive of what he was doing.
Yeah.
And now that the toxicology report is back, you're telling me a different story that alcohol doesn't always have to show up in your urine or your blood. I said to him, the fact that you are a detective and I am getting this information from the coroner's office, I think you should stick to your scopes and let the coroner, which is a doctor, stick to his scope of practice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
There was also a part of the story that was said that there was teeth. He had teeth missing.
Yes. So
can you give us some explanation of what they explained to you about that, please?
Okay. So, my daughter, she's doing forensic science in school. So she noticed because she was examining Shamar's body very thoroughly, and she noticed that he had missing teeth. Not only that, he had a big bruise on his forehead, right? And she said to the detective there in front of all of us, how do you explain my brother's missing teeth? What happened to my brother's teeth? I saw my brother this morning, which means the same June 29th. My brother doesn't have any missing teeth. What happened to his teeth? We were not given an answer. We were told to excuse the room, and they called in the forensic team at that time, and they were taking several photos of Shamar's mouth. We were not given any explanation because they themselves did not even know that any teeth was missing. They just took him from the home, and they didn't do any thorough search to see if there was any mark or anything in it, because it was my daughter that pointed that out to them. And they asked us to leave the room, and the forensic team came in and they put on their gloves and they opened his mouth and they were taking photos at that time. However, also too, what I found odd, Shamar died at the home in Mississauga. None of us knew the home that he took his last breath, and none of us knew the attendees of the party. And when we asked for the address of the home, the police said to me, for safety reasons, I can't give it to you.
Wow.
I said to him, I need to ask you this question. Is there anything in the law that prohibits me, the mother, of getting the address, knowing that my son took his last breath at that home? He said there's nothing in the law that prohibits it. However, for safety reason, he would not be able to give me the address. So we were not given the address. We were not given the names of the attendees at the party. We were not given the name of the young lady that hosted the party at her home. We were not given any information. The only time we spoke to the police in regards to Shamar's death was the night of June 29th, when he just gave us that brief summary and nothing more. We never got a call from the police saying to us, okay, giving us a proper explanation. We never really got any other information apart from what we were told at the hospital.
So to this day, you guys still don't know who the homeowner is?
No, I know. I know because I know because I thought that the fact that my son took his last breath at home, I thought it was my duty as a mother to make sure I get certain information. So through my own investigation, I was able to get the address. I was able to get the homeowner's name and pretty much every vital information that I think that I should have had. I should have gotten from the police department to begin with. So I now have pretty much every information that I need to know. But I got those information because of my own investigation.
You had to do it yourself.
Yes.
Wow. And also just to touch back on the missing teeth. And listen, I'm sorry if this is bringing up any type of bad memories or anything like that going back over this. I just feel it's very important that the public knows about this story. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to make sure that some of those details that I was hearing from other stories are corrected. Now, I was hearing in one of the stories about the teeth, with his teeth missing, that an explanation was given by the feral guy, that they were talking to EMT. They were told to open his mouth, and they went and got a wooden spoon to open his mouth, and that's the explanation for why his teeth is missing?
Yes. So, like I said earlier, when we asked the person to call Farrell, right, that conversation, the person said to him, the family is concerned. They want to know what happened to Shamar's teeth, right?
Right.
And he said, well, when he took Shamar, when he retrieved Shamar from the pool, Shamar's mouth was closed. And he was told by 911 to open Shamar's mouth. And somebody went inside and they got a wooden spoon and they were trying to get Shamar's mouth open. So he doesn't know if that's what caused his teeth to come out.
He doesn't know if that's...
Yeah. That was the explanation that Farrell gave to the gentleman that had called him, because this person that called Farrell is my son's best friend. They went to elementary school together, they went to middle school together, and they went to high school together. So when he learned of the story that they're alleging that Shamar cannonball into the pool, he's like, no way, Shamar would have never done that, because like I said, he grew up with Shamar. So he had questions also, right?
Yeah.
So he called Farrell. So it was my son's best friend that called Farrell and to get certain answers from him.
Wow. And as far as with the media, right? Like I was saying when we were covering it on my podcast, it was us. There was Talk the Tings that we seen, which is another YouTube channel from over here in Toronto. And there was one channel that I seen over in the United States, and nothing else. Global, CP24, City TV, nothing. Have any of them approached you?
No, and I remember when I said to the police, I said, why is this not on the news? He told me, his exact words were, he said, this is not Toronto, where everything makes CP24. That was what he said to me. This is not Toronto, where everything makes CP24.
Excuse my language, but that's bullshit, because I see a lot of news stories, shootings and different things that come out of Mississauga when they talk about the GTHA as a whole. They don't say, okay, well, we're going to skip the Mississauga shootings. They talk about those too.
And not only that, though, for public knowledge, people can also Google where there was also other allegedly drowning incident that they reported on the news, right?
Yes.
So I just felt like something was really off with this situation. Also, to what I would want to point out, like one of the young lady that was at the birthday party, her father is a medical doctor. And one of the gentlemen that was at the birthday party, his father works for the Collingwood Fire and Emergency Services. So when you look at the demographics of people, it's fair to say that there is a bias going on with the police department, because from day one, when we were at the hospital, the police tried to sell us a story that he drowned, even before there was any autopsy, any information from the coroner's office. The story was, your son drowned.
Yeah.
And it's like they wanted us to accept the fact that Shamar drowned and to just disappear and leave it alone.
So at this
and
point,
to your question that you asked, I have emailed just about every mainstream media that there is, to no avail. The only person that Now Toronto did an article about Shamar. You can see it on Google. You can pull it up. So Now Toronto did an article on Shamar's death. I think it was published Wednesday of this week.
Okay.
So if you type in Now Toronto in Google, you will see the editorial piece that they did about Shamar's death. And one thing that I found in that article that the Peel police said to them, that they tried to get surveillance camera, but there was none. That is a blatant lie. Because
Okay.
when I got the address for myself, my family, and I, we went on that street and we knocked on every door, door to door, asking people, did police by any chance knock on your door for footage? And the only question we would hear, why would they want footage? What happened? And I said, my son died over that home. And people start covering their mouth. None of the neighbors that lives on that street knew that there was any incident. So none of those neighbors were able to tell us that police knock on their door for footage. There's this one house that their camera points directly to the home of the birthday party.
Oh
And when
man.
I got there and I asked for footage, they said I was too late. Had I been there like 3 days earlier, the footage would still be there. So I said to them, by any chance, did police knock on your door? They said, no. Why would police knock on my door? And I said, because my son was at the home and it is alleged that he drowned over there. And they're like, oh my God, can I give you a hug? It's news to us. We did not know. Not only that, when several neighbors, when we asked them, I said, my family and I, we said to them, did you notice on the 29th of June any police presence? They said yes. They noticed a few police cars on the street, but the lights were turned off, the sirens were turned off. So they thought it was just because it's a long weekend, police was visiting their loved one.
Wow.
Neighbors said it never alarmed them like anything had happened.
So there's no
And
ambulance neither that pulled up to the house?
ambulance, yes, 911 was called, but they said it never gave any impression to the community as if it was anything of any emergency. So that's why
Wow.
nobody made anything of it. They said that because it was June 29th, so it was a long weekend before the holiday, right? July 1st holiday. So neighbors said, it's police is accustomed to being on the street to visit their friends. So they just thought it was just a regular visit because no light was on, no sirens was on or anything like that. It was just a regular day
Yeah.
to them. So no neighbors were able to tell us that police knocked on their door for footage.
Wow. This brings me a lot of questions, and I'm still in the same place from before when we were just speculating based off of the YouTube clips that we saw. I just got a whole explanation from you, and I'm still in the same place, Cheryl. I still don't have any answers.
Well, and that's us too. As a family, we don't have any answers because it just don't make sense. Nothing about Shamar's death made sense. When the autopsy came back, it still didn't make any sense to us.
Yeah.
Like the autopsy came back and he ruled out anything of natural causes that could have killed him.
And okay, as far as forensics, the information you got all the information back from forensic, or is there anything else that they have to do to is there any other reports that they have to give you, or did
No, we got the autopsy back and we got the toxicology report back, and like I said, nothing makes sense. People are saying that he drowned. However, the autopsy says no water was found in his lungs.
See, these are the minute details that I need, or sort of the minor, sort of smaller details that I need, right, to make sure that we can put this all together. Because if he was supposed to have drowned and there was no water in his lungs,
so we don't know. We really, as a family at this point, we really don't know because they found him wet. When 911 found him, he was wet.
And this is what the police told you, or?
No, they said they found him wet.
Okay.
Because the gentleman said he pulled Shamar from the water. The feral guy said he's the one that retrieved Shamar from the water. Something that I found very odd. And when he was talking to my son's friend, he said Shamar, it was very hard for him to pull Shamar out of the water because Shamar was so heavy to pull him from the water. And then when I talked to people that is experienced about retrieving people from situations such as those. They said when you're retrieving somebody from the water, there is no weight. So even if the person is much heavier than you, normally you're not feeling that weight of the person.
Yeah.
So like I said, we're left with more questions and pretty much no answers.
So my question now is, what's the next step? Are you going to be seeking legal counsel?
Well, the thing is, the SHAMAR debts at the moment sits at undetermined.
That's how they have it, as undetermined, as far
at
as
the
in the
moment.
records?
Well, we have not gotten the medical record yet, but as of right now, that's where it sits.
And that's as far as with the police, undetermined.
No, not them. They don't determine that. That's not their jurisdiction to determine.
Okay.
No, that's not with them. When it comes to the coroner's office, as of right now, it sits at undetermined.
Undetermined. But as far as with the police, is their investigation closed? Are they trying to do any more investigating?
To be honest, I didn't think they were doing any investigation. I just think that it was a fake investigation to begin with, because when I asked questions like how many persons were at the party, the answer that I was given is, I can't say for sure, but I know I spoke to 9 people. And I'm thinking that if you're doing a proper investigation, these are vital information that you would have asked the young lady. Because remember, this is not a nightclub. This is somebody's home. So when you're having a birthday party, you're going to know every person that you invited to your home. And the fact that the police answered the question like that, I can't say for sure, I know that I spoke to 9 people. It just tells me that there was no real investigation. They pretend as if they're investigating, but how can you truly investigate when simple things like those you're telling me you don't know for sure?
Yeah.
And how can you be investigating when you have not, you didn't go on the street in a timely manner to knock on any neighbor's door to ask for any footage?
Yeah. There's a lot of loose ends that still need to be tied up with this case here.
And one thing I do find, whenever I call the police, the way that he treats me as if like my son was the villain and everybody else is is the victim. He would come on the phone. Yes. How can I help you? And whenever I ask him certain questions, he would say, ma'am. And I would say, sir, please approach me, address me accordingly. You know my name. My name is not ma'am. And it just is very condescending behavior towards me. It got so bad to the point where when my dad lives in the States, and when he called the detective for himself, he came back to me and he said, my daughter, something is wrong. I don't know who those people know, but that detective should not be on the case, because it doesn't seem like somebody who's trying to do any form of investigation. And that was what my father said to me.
Yeah, it smells like a cover-up to me, like badly. And this is why I wanted to make sure that we highlighted this, because when I started doing the search on air, when I was doing the searches for different articles that I could maybe read about this and get some more information, I wasn't finding anything.
No, the only person that you, like I said, Now Toronto, they did an editorial. Yes, they did an editorial piece. That's it. That because I've reached out to pretty much every mainstream media. I have called, I've emailed, I've done pretty much everything, and to no avail. Nobody has ever responded back to me.
Yeah, I'm looking at a part of the article where it says she asked, being you, asked around about the neighborhood for CCTV footage, but was alleged that the police had not requested any of that footage from one camera that had been deleted after 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So the police, and if you look at the part where the police said they asked for camera footage, it's a lie, because when I got the address, I think my son died on the 29th of June, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I uncovered the address for myself, it was over a week after. And even after a week, none of those neighbors could tell you that the police knocked on their door.
Wow.
Not even the neighbor that lives immediately to the house where the incident happened.
Mm-hmm.
Those neighbors, like I said, nobody on the street knew that anything happened. I was the person to tell them, yes, my son was at a birthday party and he died over that home.
And
so nobody on the street knew anything about it.
And the thing is, when it comes to incidents like this, right? And I'm going to say again, once condolences, RIP to Shamar. When it comes to incidents like this, if the neighbors are not notified, let's say by police, usually they find out that something happens when they watch the news the next day, and they're like, "Oh, that's why there was police around."
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it's happened like in my area or different places that I lived before, where I don't know what's going on. But then when I look on the news and the same night or the next day, I'm like, "Oh, that's why they were around here."
I've experienced that too. Yeah.
Right. So they didn't even have those dots to be able to connect.
Nothing.
So
it's like my son died and his life did not matter. Like, we were not given anything substantial from the police. And I'm thinking, how can anyone loses his or her child at somebody's home and you're told because of safety reasons? I am not a criminal. I am a law-abiding citizen, a taxpayer. I pay every tax. I pay property tax. So how could that be that I should be denied the right to know the home where my son took his last breath? Shamar did not die at Credit Valley because the coroner told me that when they found Shamar, the vital sign was absent and he never regained it back. So Shamar took his last breath at the home.
At the party,
they pronounced him dead at the hospital as a formality, but he didn't die there. He died at the home, and the police know that. And yet still you're denying me the right, telling me for safety reasons, I'm not a criminal. He knows I'm not a criminal because I am sure, and I did say to him, I said to him, I'm sure by now you would have run my background check to see that I'm not a criminal.
Yeah. Well, especially if they're trying to do any kind of investigation at all, right?
Yeah.
Now, you said, as far as legal counsel, I don't remember if you said if you've sought any legal counsel yet?
Well, the problem I am having, yes, I do have a lawyer, but the problem I am having is my biggest concern right now is to get this detective removed so that I can have a proper investigation for my son's death. The blunder I am having is to get this detective removed, to get this to the mainstream media so that some pressure can be put on the CIB unit in Mississauga so that I can get a fair investigation for my son, because I spoke to his supervisor and I voiced my concern about the conduct of the detective. And the supervisor said to me, I am sorry you feel this way, but he is one of our best. So in a nutshell, I was just brushed off.
Like, you're going to have to deal with him. That's
Yes.
Well, this is why I feel that this platform is here as well. You know, we're usually a hip hop platform that we interview a lot of artists and stuff like that, and we talk about hip hop news. But I feel like I have a civic duty when I see different things that are happening in my city that I need to shed light on. And I'm hopefully this conversation right here, besides the clip that we posted before, will be able to encourage mainstream media to even look into this a little bit more. And maybe we can get this guy off the case, you know, or maybe even if he doesn't get off the case.
No, and also too, right? My problem is like this, and if you want to show the community and the public that they're getting a fair investigation, right? Remember, this is a situation where Shamar was the only person of color at the party. So you have a black man that is the only person of color at the party. You also have a detective that is of the same color as the attendees at the party. I believe, in all fairness, I should have been given probably 2 investigators to be on the case.
Yeah.
You know, just for us to feel like we're being supported. Yeah, because right now I don't feel, I don't feel like we've been supported, because like I said, whenever I call this detective, he's very condescending.
And what's the
he's very
detective's name?
intimidating. Detective Babinzi.
Detective Babinzi. Okay.
So I really want him off the case, and I want a fair investigation for Shamar. Shamar was a good young man. Shamar didn't, I'm not blaming anybody. I just want to be able to have some level of closure, which I think I rightfully so deserve. It's not easy to bury your child and still don't know what truly happened to him.
Yeah.
Shamar was not a smoker. He was a very modest drinker. And the reason why I know also too, because that this detective is not really supposed to be on a case like this. I'm at a hospital. I'm there to identify my son. And you're going to greet me with the fact that he brought an overproof white rum. First of all, Shamar was 25. And if he is invited to a party, he's entitled to bring something.
Yeah.
It should not matter if he brought overproof white rum or if he brought a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
So the fact that the overproof white rum was highlighted, everybody knows that. Us Jamaicans, we are associated with certain things.
Mm-hmm.
White rum is part of something that a lot of people know Jamaica for.
Yeah.
So the fact that he has to highlight the overproof white rum in itself spoke volume.
Yeah. From the time you told me that in the beginning of our conversation,
Yeah.
that made that, it made my eyebrows go up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, why mention that?
Why mention that? He's not a kid. He's entitled.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people have something at their home. You're entitled to bring something. What you bring shouldn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So pretty much I'm asking for all the help. I'm not asking for any financial help because I keep hearing people say GoFundMe. I'm not looking for financial help. I am looking for awareness so that my son's case can be investigated in a very fair manner. And I don't want a biased detective on the case because I don't think he has done any justice for Shamar.
Well, we're going to be doing justice for Shamar here on the We Love Hip Hop Network. I'm going to make sure to put this conversation that we're having right now, I'm going to put this out today so that we can get as much time and get as much traction on it as possible.
Yes, and I'm also asking too that people follow my TikTok page.
Okay, let
because
people know.
Yeah, my TikTok page is SHAMAR MEMORAL. I couldn't get the I. It's supposed to be Shamar Memorial, but the I was taken, so I had to spell it this way.
Okay. We'll make sure to put that on the screen as well, so that the people will be able to see that. I want everybody to. What can they do? What can people do if they want to contact anybody or anything to help with this situation? Like what?
Well, I had my TikTok page, and since my son died, I turned my TikTok into his page. So pretty much that's where anybody can reach me on TikTok, and they can reach out to me. And if these are credible people also too, you can pass my phone numbers on to them as well.
Well, I'll definitely make sure to check in with you first. And also for any legal counsel out there, serious legal counsel who might want to approach this case, make sure to hit up the TikTok page, Shamar Memorial, right? And as well as you can hit me up, Friday Ricky Dread on Instagram, and we'll make sure to get you over to the right people.
Yes, my goal is to get Shamar's story to mainstream media because I believe that he deserves to hear his story. And I also believe that, he deserves a proper investigation.
Definitely. Well, listen, Cheryl, I'm going to do my best with the connections that I have as well to get this story to the mainstream media. Salute to Now Magazine Toronto or NowToronto.com for doing the story with you as well. But the more places and the more outlets that this story is, the quicker I feel that we can get to the bottom of this case here. Yes. And I really appreciate you having this conversation with me and being so candid with me this morning.
Yes, and I wanna extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to contact me. I really appreciate it.
It's my duty, and I really just it's put a little pit in my chest right now because, at the end of this conversation, even though I've gotten some clarity from speaking to you, I'm still in the same place as far as answers with this. So
yes, it's not just you; it's everybody, all my family worldwide.
Yeah, and it's just a really tragic incident. I want to extend it again my condolences to you and your family. Okay, and we're gonna make sure that we get this out to as many people as possible.
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I think we can end it right there.
Yes, and you have a wonderful day. Thanks a lot.
You too. And
bye for now.
Okay, have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Bye now. There we have it, man. The mother of SHAMAR Barnett. We just got the conversation going on with her right here. The goal is to make sure that this piece of content goes out to as many people as possible so that it reaches to the mainstream media so that we can get to the bottom of this case here. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. I'm still sitting with as many unanswered questions as we had in the beginning before I had an opportunity to speak to this man's mother. So there's definitely a cover-up that's going on here. And if you guys have any information, any of the people who are at that house, okay, Pharaoh, anybody like that, if you see this piece of content, feel free to contact me, Friday Ricky Dread, that's DRED on Instagram, or you can contact the We Love Hip Hop Network Instagram page, or hit us up on our email address, welovehiphoptoronto@gmail.com. If you have any more information on this case here, RIP SHAMAR Barnett, condolences to his family. We are off of this. Deuces.
I hope that your life is filled with love and happiness. And have a good night.
And splendidly bright here one day.